What's going on, everybody? You guys are now tuned into the Re-Up podcast. My guest today is the founder of Apex Black Car Service, a transportation service that specializes in airport transportation, corporate VIP travel, and other types of special events. Let's welcome to the show, Jabari Bell. How's it going, man?
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Nah, man, no problem. Thanks for coming on the show, man. How's everything been so far?
Everything is well.
Can't complain?
Top of the new year. I can't complain at all.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
How's everything with you?
Good, man. Can't complain. Business has been good so far. For those of you who don't know, I've been venturing off into not only doing interviews myself, but I've also been in the business of producing podcasts for other people. So if you need a podcast of your own, or if you know someone that needs a podcast but doesn't know how to really go about it, hit me up, DM the Ria page, and we'll get you started. Definitely get you started with that.
Bro's as elusive as me.
Yeah, listen, man. I'm trying to get like the $1,000 suits and like the SUVs and the Benzes too. You feel me? Listen, just trying to catch up. You feel me?
Nah, you just be low. I love it.
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
Social media about your business. That's what it's about.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate that. So, as you know, there's a million ways to start a business. How did Apex come about? How did you execute it? Black Car Service sounds like a very complicated thing to kind of get into. How'd you get into that?
With the million ways to start a business, I feel like I dove into the most simple way.
Right.
Whereas I just found a void. And finding that void, I was just like, it has to happen. Whether it was back in September or now, like it just had to happen. In all the cities that we're in right now, New York, we have DC, and of course, Chicago coming up soon.
All right, awesome. The media has been kind of consistent in reporting that the pandemic has been bad for business across the country. Apex has kind of done the opposite. You guys have grown instead of kind of like dive down. What do you credit that? Despite
the exponential growth of Apex so far, we do have a lot of voids and a lot of gaps to fill. Whereas, as far as the events, we can't have the amount of people that we actually want. So we have to step back and actually kind of take a seat when it comes to giving it to the actual audience.
Right.
But as far as that, like, regardless of that, I'm grateful. I'm grateful of it all. But as far as growth, it's the sky's the limit. There's absolutely no cap to our success.
Absolutely, man. So what type of cars does Apex have available? Because I peeped that you guys actually added more luxury vehicles to your arsenal. So why don't you guys announce that real quick?
So right now we have the Lamborghini Urus, Bentley Bentayga, Rolls-Royce Phantom, Rolls-Royce Ghost, a slew of Escalades, S550, the Maybach, and catch that pronunciation. That's very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybach. I'm just trying to think. There's so many right now.
Right.
The Escalades, CTSs.
Right. So what do you guys see yourself as like a transport? Like, because obviously the Black Car Service is more than just transportation nowadays. Obviously, a lot of these rental companies have worked really well with music videos and with productions, movies, and stuff like that. So do you guys see yourselves kind of like just like an everyday luxury type of vehicle transportation company, or do you guys want to expand more into maybe like do more digital media and using cars more for production and stuff like that?
Of course, the everyday clients are our top priority, but we wouldn't necessarily turn our backs on like the video productions. Excuse me.
Right.
I wouldn't say we'll evolve into strictly that, but as far as just being able to service all walks of life is our top priority. So
Apex opened up another location in Chicago. How did that whole transpire? Because obviously you're an East Coast guy. You have a location. Your main HQ is in DC. Mm-hmm. How did Chicago come about? What was it about Chicago that was so intriguing for you guys? And how did you guys make that happen?
My favorite song. No. I would say my newest partner.
Okay.
He goes by DJ Oreo.
Okay.
He is, honestly, he's a pillar in the Chicago community. He caught an interest in our brand, like, of course, Black-owned, just the poise and the cleanness of the brand itself. And he was like, this would be perfect in Chicago. So we met up, had a couple of conversations, and then with this in particular, like this is kind of the first time really announcing it, we're evolving into an actual rental company. So from the chauffeurs to, the everyday rentals, just solely one driver opposed to you being driven around.
Right, absolutely. How do you guys differentiate yourselves from other maybe black car services or limousine services or transportation services? Is there, you kind of have like a pep talk with maybe like the drivers, or is there maybe some expectations with maybe hospitality that maybe you've seen that other people or other competitors in the industry aren't really doing? How do you guys kind of go around that?
Let me ask you this: what is your perception of A1 service, A+ service?
A+ service, I would say definitely hospitality has to be number one.
What is hospitality?
Hospitality would be catering out your customers or your clients' need, no matter how big or small, no matter what type of industry you're in, even if it's a fast food restaurant. If your client needs something, if your customer needs something specific, doing whatever you can to, bring those type of qualities out, but just kind of like and over deliver for the most part, if that makes any sense.
So everything that you just said, let's times it by 3.
Right.
We emphasize customer service. We emphasize just the service itself because, of course, anyone could get cars. But my guys, like, we are just so on top of everything right now, from the service to the cleanliness to health restrictions. It's top priority. Like, the customers are top priority because, especially in these times, being able to get a booking is huge because, Uber drivers are, well, more so the Uber black drivers, they're on a decline right now.
Right.
So with that, like, being able to be an outlet to these to my chauffeurs, it's huge. So we appreciate our customers so much that we want to just cater to every need that they can possibly imagine.
Did you ever think it like in a million years that you would be putting so much emphasis into cleaning and into hygiene and into stuff like that? Or was that kind of like something that you would know that would come with this type of service and this type of business?
I mean, launching last year, that was kind of, it was by default. But as far as before, because Apex was in my head, I would say maybe like the end of 2019.
Okay.
So before, definitely not. But once launching and through the formation of everything, it was just, this is the way of life now.
What's the hardest part about doing business or maintaining a business during COVID or at least during the pandemic where things were kind of, really at a standstill and no one was really spending that much money into maybe luxury items as much as, like in normal times?
What is the hardest? Consistency.
Right.
It's definitely consistency right now. Because I wouldn't say that, I mean, for my veteran drivers, it's kind of a second nature right now. But
right.
Being able to train my new drivers and setting the Apex standard, just as my veteran drivers has it at a second nature.
Yeah.
Being able to instill that into the new drivers it does get kind of tedious, but it's needed. So
yeah, that's just kind of like, I guess, like breaking the rookies and stuff like that. Like making sure that new people kind of like abide by like certain rules and expectations and regulations that you may have set yourself. Not that like it's the same for other companies and stuff like that, because you don't want to be just like any other company per se.
It's cold over here.
Yeah,
it is cold over here. Golly.
Yeah, man. Sorry about that.
Sorry, I gotta play with you.
Yeah. This past summer, I had the honor of attending an event that celebrated the launch of Apex and Pandu. Do you plan on having more events such as that one that promote entrepreneurship?
Yes. We're actually throwing our third. So in between now and then, we had the DC launch.
Okay.
DC launch was real intimate. Just a few DC locals, celebrities, athletes, et cetera, under one roof. It was more so of a dinner opposed to the brunch.
Right.
There, it was real cool. But honestly, every city that I launch in, I really just want to be able to meet as many people. So between the giveaways, the charitable events, and the actual launch events, like that's the perfect introduction, I think.
Right. I would say that it's definitely very I don't really see a lot of companies or a lot of like these big time like corporations really hold that many events such as these. Like it's crazy because these big corporations are run by entrepreneurs, people who started off like around our age, were like hungry and motivated, but I don't really see kind of like the interest of holding like those type of like events like you do. So I definitely think it's a good thing to definitely promote Black businesses. It's definitely like an asset to promote entrepreneurship in general. I did get the chance to meet a lot of really cool people. I met Sky, which I actually used to work with Sky, an associate of yours. Yeah, at Cutco, which which is like that the silverware. Oh, well, not silverware. It was like they sold like kitchenware and knives and stuff like that. Like that was like one of my first like sales jobs, which it was cool. Made like a little bit of money here, like here and there. Enhance my sales skills a lot more. So it was definitely really cool to see that he was at the event, running his own business himself, and that he kind of like graduated from like sales associate, learning how to like sell and do stuff like that. To now like he's at the top now, with his own business and everything. It's cool.
The Don of all Dons. that's my guy. That's one of my main partners right now.
Awesome, yeah, that's great. It's definitely cool to see. Like it's really refreshing for me to see young people that are kind of like more or less on the same boat that I am. Not I guess like either financially or business wise, but like on the same wave pattern of just just trying to like create a business and have ownership of something. 'Cause I feel like ownership is a very, a huge asset of something that's not taught in schools. It's not taught to minority, Hispanics or anybody else like that. So when did you realize that having ownership of something was essential and key?
I learned it really early. When I realized it was really late, and I'm glad although it was late, I'm glad I learned it. No, I'm glad I realized it then, opposed to even later, because honestly, we're all young. I feel like we have a lot of days ahead.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Realizing it took trial and error. It took days of depression. It took days of uncertainty, and from there, it was just like now it's all game.
Right.
Now it's all game.
What's one of the biggest L's you took, business wise, or even with like working with like associates or former partners, if you have any former partners and stuff like that?
The thing is with business itself, and I'm only saying this to kind of lead into my next statement.
Yeah.
With business, you're gonna lose and you're gonna make and lose money. That's by default. That's the way of business. So my biggest L wasn't actually a monetary L. It's more so being proven wrong was my biggest L so far. Whereas the trust I put into a partner, like I had the utmost trust in one partner, and it went left when it wasn't necessarily miscommunication. It was more so greed at one point,
which is worse than miscommunication.
It was way worse. So from there, it sucked because I started out with this guy, and it was just, I don't know, it sucked,
Right.
And the thing is, it was more of a personal thing, whereas like, yeah, I trusted you, the greed got in the way, and honestly, I wouldn't wish that upon anyone.
What's your biggest advice, that being said, when, let's say I would ask you, what are the top qualities to look for in a business partner, or maybe things to look out for, or things that you should leave straight with a business partner when you first merge together?
The motive should be clear. Like a very in-depth conversation should be had, whereas I'm telling you, like I could tell you the what, but can you tell me the why? And once you tell me the why, our whys need to match up. Well, not necessarily our whys need to match up, but at least in the same, like on the same
wavelength. Yeah, I got you.
But I would say the motives need to be clear. The communication, of course, being able to communicate differences, just being able to communicate what you're thinking is the most potent concept or most potent component in a business relationships in general.
Right. Yeah. No, I've spoken to other entrepreneurs. Actually, like a friend of mine who runs a real estate firm. He mentioned that one of his first partners, like it was like a nightmare scenario where they had just gotten a deal done, and he had wired out all of the money that like they had like made from the deal onto his bank account, and he had just like left or something like that. And that like honestly, and you know, obviously one of the worst scenarios you could ever think of. But one of the things that kind of stood out to me when you mentioned that story was that he kind of like, instead of, you know, blaming him entirely and getting all angry and upset, he kind of, you know, took accountability and said, you know what, like, what can I learn from the situation and move on, like, you know, and how to move on better moving forward. So is accountability something that, you know, like, obviously as adults, accountability is something that I feel like it should be a staple within our lives, with our business relationships, you know, personal relationships, with family, with, you know, health in general, just like things that we do. Is taking accountability, like when you first started taking accountability for things, was that kind of like a hard pill to swallow, or, you know, like how did that kind of happen about?
It's still a hard pill to swallow, honestly. Yeah. Not that I don't necessarily do it, but regardless if it's in business relationships or just personal relationships, it's always a hard pill to swallow. Right. It's about being susceptible to the accountability itself. Right. So being open to being wrong, it's okay. It's 1,000% okay. But not being able to swallow that pill is, like I said, it's a hard pill to swallow. But the thing is, my pill is going to go down. Mm-hmm. If you're not swallowing, like if you just refuse to swallow the pill, you're just a waste of time, a waste of space here. Right. So with accountability, it's super important, regardless if it's friendships, personal relationships, business relationships, anything.
Right, man, absolutely. I also feel like accountability, like within the service industry, especially for transportation, is huge, because of course, you know, of course your drivers aren't perfect. Of course, customer service isn't perfect. Of course, you might mess up as an owner sometimes as well. So of course, I guess, you know, like being mature enough to say, hey, I apologize. Let me add this service, or how else can we help you? Mm-hmm. You know, that type of humility, I feel like, goes way, you know, longer with customers and clients than being successful 110% of the time, like would.
And the thing is, I've learned that, especially my clientele and my audience right now, they want to see the growth. It's not perfect now, but we have their trust enough to say it'll be perfect after this patch up. Right. Honestly. Like, there's the accountability births the trust. So I don't think that anyone trusts us off the back, honestly. But once we take the accountability for it, whether it's tardiness, whether it's driver didn't have a mask on or something like that. Right. Driver didn't open the door fast enough. Okay, you know, I got you. Okay, things, I got you. Yeah, of course. So with that, there's always something to take accountability for. Right. But if we were to review their complaint, right? Like, honestly, our sales, our bookings,
your reputation, I feel like word of mouth is such a huge asset, because one thing I've learned is that, you know, it's good to be on social media. It's good to be, you know, like popping on social media with the followers, engagement, you know, with images, video. It's really important to have that type of stuff, mind you. But one thing I've learned is that word of mouth is really, you know, an age-long type of marketing tactic that, well, for me personally, will never go old. I personally feel like, you know, word of mouth is something that, it's not that it's declining, but it's importance. I feel like people don't really understand the importance of word of mouth. And, like, you know, it's not everything's a Google review. Not everything is, you know, like, you know, Zagat review and stuff like that. You know, like, if I see a person one-on-one, you know, how do I feel about the company? How do I feel about this person? You know, how does it make me feel as a person and to another human being that's asking me about this service or company? How can I, you know, share with that person exactly how I feel about this person, about this company? That goes a way longer route than, oh, is your Instagram good? Is your reviews good? Is your video nice? Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And just as you started, I was stuck on Zagat. What is that?
Huh? Zagat?
What?
Zagat?
What is that?
It's like, but yeah, that's the thing. People don't even use like these restaurant like reviews anymore. Zagat is an online. Well, now it's like an online like restaurant review. Like restaurant
it's like critic. Before Yelp.
Nah, not even. It's like you ever heard of like the Michelin star for restaurants? Yeah, so it's like it's kind of like these critics. Like Zagat's like a company where like they send a bunch of critics to these restaurants and they'll give like a Zagat review. Like so it'll be like 1 star out of 5 or something like that, and it'll be based on like hospitality, based on the food, based on everything like like restaurant wise and stuff like that. But it's funny because nowadays, for the younger generation, that when people who are going out to eat and going to hotels and stuff like that, or any type of hospital like hospitality type of company, those type of reviews don't really matter anymore. Because no one really cares about how many stars they get on Zagat. It's more like what's their Instagram page look like? What can I see? Like what's the visuals that I can see that are gonna match the service that I get? So stuff like that. Yeah.
But you were talking about
word of mouth. I feel like word of mouth is more important than all of those reviews and all that combined.
Absolutely, because now, although social media is essentially a tool of word of mouth, but social media is more so a popularity contest.
Right.
Whereas word of mouth, you're seeing my excitement, you hear my excitement in this establishment here.
Yeah.
Opposed to just seeing a certain amount of followers, certain amount of comments, posts, etc.
So behind every entrepreneur, as you know, there's a stacked bookshelf. What type of books or theologies of literature do you recommend for aspiring entrepreneurs? Or maybe some like, I don't know, anything that's helped you in business that you've learned literature-wise?
My library right now is like really, really diverse.
Right.
So I could go from Millionaire Mindset of a Millionaire by Dave Grossey.
Right.
To something as simple and spiritual as The Secret.
Right.
Like, honestly, those are two pinnacles from, although they're pretty similar as far as mindset, because if you were to read any of these books, well, any of the impactful books,
right,
they're not go do this, go do that in regards to go sell this or anything. It's more so you have to format your mind. You have to condition yourself to believe in a certain thing, opposed to just giving you all of the, like, honestly, I could teach you how to do a podcast, but I can't teach you through the mindset of everything. Like that's all within yourself,
right,
to be successful. Right. So that was probably a very poor example, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I understand exactly what you're saying. Yeah,
but
it applies to me specifically.
Yeah,
so I understand it. Yeah, it's all good.
So right now, this is actually the 4th time I'm reading it. Is The Go-Giver by Bob Burg.
Right.
So this here is really about selflessness. It's about a guy, not to, like, honestly, this is a gem that you could say, read The Go-Giver, but not to tell you the whole book. It's about a guy who he starts out having to he had to hit like a quota or something like that. Mm-hmm. And he meets this guy, and then this guy teaches him about life, like real life, opposed to just the money side of life. And you see that once he learns real life, like the money just comes. Once you start being a good person to people, mm-hmm. honestly, the money is just that's the most fruitful thing.
Is that, would you say that's maybe like karma or something, maybe like within those type of lines, or is that just kind of maybe manifestation as well, but like a different type of manifestation where it's not that you're just hoping for good things, but if you manifest, good things for yourself and good towards other people, it comes back towards you. And, how would you really kind of like explain that? Or how does the book kind of maybe explain that, if you don't mind sharing that?
I would say it's more so, it's a form of karma. It's a form of manifestation. But all in all, it's opposed to doing what makes money. Do what you love. And I promise you, you put all of you into that, the money will come. So putting all of you into customer service, the money's going to come regardless, because now it's there. It's as evident as this microphone in front of my face. So I only said that because, like, if I'm putting my all, understanding that it's a huge component of my business, if I'm putting my all into customer service, my audience is going to grow, my bookings are going to increase, Like it's all gonna come just by really just. It feels like a gravitational pull.
Gravitational pull. Okay, I like that. So it's kind of it's natural. It's not something that is kind
forced.
of it's not forced.
Although there's of course sales tactics, et cetera,
Right.
et cetera, but it's not forced once your audience they feel that you're as invested into it as their small booking or whatever it is.
Right. Do you feel like entrepreneurs kind of like in this age of social media and in the age of kind of like trying to get more clientele and get more customers and stuff like that, do you feel like people a little more of like on like the sales, pushy sales type of vibe sometimes? Like do you feel like it's not like as natural sometimes? Maybe that's why they don't do as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. People being somewhere they're not. But all in all, although they're displaying something they're not, I do understand it. Sometimes it's taken to a crazy degree, but honestly, being successful it's really stepping outside of your comfort zone in order to see it go through.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much for like all the gems, all the knowledge. I really appreciate you coming through on the show, man. Before you head out, what's next for Apex? Obviously you guys just opened up a new location in Chicago, so that's like obviously something brand new. But what else? Like how else do you guys want to kind of like, how else do you guys want to ascend and kind of move forward, moving into 2021?
Personally, I've discussed this with my team so far. Like we're really just trying to be as connected to the community as possible.
Right.
From charity events, food drives, to just meeting people. So I feel as if this year, whether it's in New York, DC, or Chicago, like just as you mentioned the word of mouth, we're gonna have 1,000 foot soldiers by the end of this year. Honestly, just because they're gonna be so invested into the company itself, like they're gonna be repping our company just as if it's theirs.
Right.
So honestly,
it's like team camaraderie, having a pride for where you work at, having pride for this company because it's
family,
different,
baby.
Right? Absolutely.
Apex family. So that's like one of our biggest goals right now. But of course, like technical things. Excuse me. More so, like a bigger fleet. We're working on partnerships. We have new locations. The Chicago location is actually going to be our first brick and mortar. So you're going to have a showroom there, and as well as like the offices and all. And that's going to conclude 2021. So between your business and just interpersonal relationships, that is Apex's 2021.
All right, awesome, man. I definitely appreciate it. Can't wait to see what else Apex has to offer. You guys have honestly blown up so much already in such a short amount of time. So I really can't wait to see where else Apex goes, how many locations you guys open up, and just like all the incredible other opportunities you guys obviously offer for entrepreneurs and just for like the industry in general. So I really appreciate you coming on the show, and sky's the limit, man. We'll see what happens from there.
Thank you, bro.
All right, man.
Appreciate you.
Awesome. So we'll catch you guys next time.